morning. Good morning. Good morning, LinkedIn Live. Good morning, people of LinkedIn. Good morning to any beautiful people that are watching us on YouTube. Good morning, Sanjay.
Hi there. Nice to see you. It is early, but yeah, good morning.
It is early. Some people say that, especially people that work for themselves. They're like, oh, Fridays, I don't usually get up this early.
So, I've been up. I've been up since 6. So yeah, it's earlier to do most things, but this is cool. It catches people who are awake, right?
Amazing. Yeah, and I assume so. I'm going to assume you're not one of these like 5 a.m. club type people, then, or are you?
I'm not. I'm definitely not. So I tend to just, I'm not someone who can naturally go to bed early either. So if it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I'll distract myself with something, and it's past 11. Then I'll go to bed, and I can't do the early thing. But no, I'm a 7 a.m. usually, and that's enforced through kids and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. And I love that you're wearing your branded T-shirt. We love a branded T-shirt.
Always. If anyone wants one, drop us a note on LinkedIn. I'll get you one. Yeah, I love them.
I might
see them in the wild.
Yeah, I might be after one myself.
Amazing. I'll get you one.
Do you do them in black though?
We don't. So we've got core colours, and there's the dark version is like a dark teal, so it's a really, really dark green. Actually, the logo colour. So there's a T-shirt colour in the dark colour with a yellow logo. So yeah, I think I can get one of those for you.
Okay, that can definitely work. That can definitely work. I love a black T-shirt personally. Good morning to everyone. If you're watching us live, please do say good morning in the chat. We always love. I know it's holiday season, right? So a lot of people are maybe like, do you know what? I'm staying in my bed and I'm not sending Cheryl a good morning this Friday. But if you are, if you're joining us live, please do say good morning in the chat. We've got our first comment, of course, from the amazing Junior Beeman. Junior Beeman Sanjay is let me get this right, the global chair for the Multicultural Network for NatWest. I think I've got that right. Junior says, we love a branded T-shirt. Good morning, Oprah. Sanjay, me Oprah of ERGs, which I'm going to take.
I love it. Yeah, take that.
Junior, how has your week been? Please do let us know. We do love a branded T-shirt. Junior has even started getting his own branded T-shirt. So for anybody that doesn't know, Junior is an executive coach. That's his day job, an exec coach at NatWest. And he now has a T-shirt called Coach that says Coach on it. So which is great. So I'm joined by Sanjay Lobo, MBE. Let's not leave that out. I know Sanjay. It's one of those things, right? Sanjay is founder and CEO of OnHand, the Impact app, which has been described by the FT as the Netflix for volunteering, or I think somebody recently called it the Uber for volunteering. Is that right?
I think we've been called the Uber for volunteering by IBM Research, and Netflix for volunteering by the FT, which I'll take either of those as well.
Absolutely. And then in terms of your career, now I usually get ChatGPT to write the intros, but I wasn't so impressed with what it wrote. So I thought, let me go back to like using my own human intervention here. So am I right in thinking that you kind of, apart from flipping burgers, right? Let's not forget that.
I did have that. Yes.
Don't all the hardest working people start off at McDonald's? Like at least you do a stint right at McDonald's in your teens.
I've definitely done my stint.
But no, neither did I. What was your favorite meal at McDonald's?
So I was always a fillet of fish. Like really unpopular. I don't know if they still do them. They probably still do them, but
I don't know actually.
Really unpopular. So everything else gets cooked. En masse, shove it out.
Yeah.
Fish, spoke.
Used to get cooked to order. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My favorite. Oh, apple pie. Love an apple pie. Love the apple pie. Although I did think they were better abroad. The apple pies, they were kind of like more oven baked. I found when we went abroad.
To try.
But I loved. I used to love. I haven't been to McDonald's for many years. I'm now vegan, by the way, as well. But I used to love a Big Mac.
Yeah.
I used to love a Big Mac.
Still to do.
Yeah. Anyway, but you also went into law, didn't you?
Yeah, that's how I started career. So I was lucky. I grew up in Tooting, South London, which back then wasn't like the best kind of place. I just happened to do really well at school, and I was lucky to do really well in my A levels. Beyond what I expected. I got into a great uni to study law, which again just was luck, really a lot of luck.
Yeah,
and I managed to get a job in law. I got one interview, and I got the job, and that changed my life. But I started in law.
Those were the days, right? One interview and you get the job. I feel like those were the days.
Wow.
Nowadays, like
record shop manager. My backup.
Oh wow, yeah. Nowadays, people are like literally applying for like young people in particular are applying for hundreds of jobs, like literally. Junior says it's been a great week. Only 3 cities this week. Junior sort of does his work all around the country. But a great South Asian Heritage Month celebration yesterday in London. This year's theme, Roots to Roots, of course. If anybody's seen my recent post, I was talking about South Asian Heritage Month. Sanjay, have you been doing anything for South Asian Heritage Month? And what is your heritage as well?
I've been so this week I've been stuck in hospital, unfortunately. So it's been a tricky week, but it's not over yet. So my heritage, my mum was born in Kenya. Her dad was born in Goa. Her family was born in Goa. My dad was born in Tanzania, and his family are from the Gujarat. And I mean, that's an amazing thing. But when I was born, 70s London was a very different place, and they very much didn't pass on any of the culture. They wanted me to be, to try and fit in. They really on, speaking properly and whatever else. And get many of the roots. Though, my mum's Catholic, and that's because of the Goan heritage of Portuguese colony and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was brought up as a Catholic, agnostic now, but yeah.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. Neha, would love to hear more about the South Asian History Month celebration. I've been seeing some great stuff online about South Asian History Month. Hi, Cheryl and Sanjay. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Neha Rika. Neha was also a chair of a network back in the day, a founder and chair actually of a network. Lucky days back then, one interview to a job, but we live and we learn. And I feel like your background, Sanjay, in terms of having roots, and we're talking about roots in that South Asian heritage in Kenya and Tanzania. I feel like Neha maybe has some roots in maybe Kenya as well, but I could be wrong. But yeah, South Asian Heritage Month. If you haven't seen my post yesterday, I posted about roti, which is one of my favorite foods. You got to love some roti.
Better than
yeah, definitely better than a Big Mac. Right? Okay, perfect. And then tell us about your journey to creating OnHand. And I know that you've worked for some other amazing organisations in some big jobs, and I know you've also been a founder in other organizations as well, and sort of run some fairly big departments at companies like Vistaprint and others, etc. How did you come to doing OnHand? What led to that?
The whole journey has led here. So qualified as a lawyer. I went in-house fairly early after qualifying. It was .com bubble bursting, to be fair. The company I joined was laying everyone off. And I got a job with a travel technology company who happened to buy lastminute.com. And I was part of that transaction, and I shifted over to Last Minute. I can't remember now, 2005 or something. But I was just right place, right time, having worked quite hard at the company I was at, for them to say, hey, do you want the job running the legal team there? Which was amazing for me. I was still only in my 20s. Just had worked hard and was in the right place. But the story was like, even though I was the lawyer, I was doing other bits on the side. And I only realized this, a couple of decades later. I was always interested in other aspects of the business, and so green initiatives and sustainability wasn't a thing back in the noughties, right? But we started a green initiative at lastminute.com, and I was leading that. And then when I went to my next role, which was in Vistaprint, based in Barcelona, like amazing role. There, I got really involved with, they support small businesses. And what it turned out was we had a really sizable charity customer base, which we didn't know about. And so I really lent into looking after charities, making great offers for the charities. And it was inspired by a call. One day, the receptionist came in on my office, really close to reception, and she asked if I could take a call from a customer, which I assumed would be a massive complaint. I'd listen for 5 minutes and just whatever the complaint was, I was just going to say no, and it was going to be a very short call. Wasn't 5 minutes, it was 90 minutes, and it was a charity called Street Child of Sierra Leone. At the time, poorest country on the planet, and the person ringing was saying they were organising the first ever marathon in Sierra Leone because they thought it could be an incredible fundraising event. And they were ordering lots of stuff from us, loads of branded T-shirts, lots of stuff, banners, whatever. And all she wanted was a tiny discount. And I remember thinking, well, this is just an incredible charity. What they're doing is incredible. That we Vistaprint, the company, are doing it for them, helping them do this thing is incredible.
Yeah.
It's not about 5% discount. It's about how do I do this for free and give them more and support other charities doing this amazing thing. And I guess I tell that story because after leaving Vistaprint, I joined another startup, didn't work, quit. And when I thought about what I really want to do, it was like all of that combination of like startup stuff from Vistaprint at the last minute, combined with the things I was distracted by, but really enjoyed, like sustainability and helping charities. I saw this ad for OnHand. It was like, that's probably the perfect role for the things I've done for the last 20 years.
Yeah, amazing.
But,
no, I was absolutely gripped. Yeah, that's it's incredible, isn't it? And it almost reminded me of, that thing of, you're in your role and then you hear something and it just kind of like ignites something in you. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the journey that some like employee network leaders go on as well when they're doing their day job, their discipline, their lane, for you it was law, etc.
Absolutely,
and then they get involved in in this other world of like helping community or sustainability or whatever, and they're like, it's a bit like like that whole concept of ikigai. That whole thing of something that gives you purpose or doing good in the world. And it's very hard to not, I think for most people, if they could be doing that full time, they would be, right? If money was no object for a lot of people, they would be doing that full time. Absolutely. So I completely get it.
It's the purpose and passion piece, right? So you're spot on. Why I really enjoyed the sustainability stuff at lastminute.com and working with the charity, it was rewarding personally. And you then saw, I'm sure lots of people in this space see it as well. When your employees then engage, your teams engage, and then wider departments engage with what you're doing in that space to help the world. That's an amazing feeling and impact you have. So I'm sure that applies to loads of people that you work with.
Absolutely. And that's a lovely segue there, because you mentioned impact, right? And it's all about the impact. It's just so strange because even in the space that I work, I'm talking a lot to organizations about impact, how employee networks can have more impact. But something that you have recently created within OnHand is the Impact Awards. So tell us how that came about and why as well.
So we're launching it's launched the Impact Awards for 2025. That's live now. And we've been talking about it internally for quite a while. It feels like, when we started OnHand, we didn't really have a clue about how this would work in the world and all of that kind of stuff. We didn't know about the rise of B Corp or responsible business or companies doing impact reports and all of that kind of stuff. But it feels like there is a growing movement on responsible business or what it means to be a responsible business. But there's still no way of really shouting about that in a big way. There isn't an impact awards. That was our feeling. There isn't an impact awards, but there's so many great activities going on across so many different industries, so many different companies. And at the same time, I guess and sharing those stories just felt really important. And the converse of that is what we all see every day in most of our feeds, on the news, in the papers. What we see is hate and division. almost everywhere, almost non-stop. And that combination of things is like, so we've been talking about the awards probably the last 3 years. When are we going to do it? Shall we do it this year? When's the right moment? And this year, the level of hate, I'm sure everyone is experiencing this, that the level of hate out there it's at such a scale. I feel overwhelmed, but I'm sure everyone does feel overwhelmed by the level of hate out there. This just felt like this is the year we're going to do it, regardless of whatever else we've got going on. It's always been put off because there's been some other priority. This was the year. We just felt this is the year to shine a light on what's good out there. If we can help in some way. I'm sure, again, we all feel overwhelmed by that volume, the volume of disconnects, hate, and division.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's hard to know what to do. What can I do? What can I do? The thing. It's a small thing. It's, we're not going to stop all of that hate, but can we shine light on something good? Yeah, this is something we can do.
And so before we kind of get into like the Impact Awards, and thank you again so much, by the way, for inviting me to be a judge, right? And to be a part of it. Yes. No, you know what? You're welcome, because I must admit, I get a little bit fatigued by awards. I've been involved in various different awards for a long time, and there are so many awards. Yes. But when I looked at what you were doing, I was like, okay, this I can get behind, because, it kind of, these stories need to be told, because I think it will inspire others. But before we kind of get into the specifics of that, I just want to touch on something there that you said about, in terms of why this year. So you talked about, for example, the level of hate and division being ramped up. And I'm absolutely convinced that social media has a massive part to play in this. I think it has almost become like an amplification kind of thing, right? Of the wants and wishes, kind of almost like tapping into the worst of human nature. Yes. But the question, I guess, that I've got for you is, how do you tackle those sorts of like conversations and almost like that feeling of overwhelm? So I'm guessing you've got like people in your team, and I know I think you're remote first, aren't you, as well as an organization? So how do you tackle those feelings of, gosh, the world's on fire, or this has happened now, or that has happened now? How do you kind of like, either make space to talk about those things, or do you know what I mean? Do you just do you just like put the rose tinted glasses on and move away, or do you have the conversations, and if things are political? I'm just really curious how you manage that as a business.
It's really, really hard, and I'm sure everyone finds this. The politics involved in it, they're cutting straight away. So. I'm trying to think of examples where we've talked about it openly in the company, because it feels like we're a do-good movement. So if there's a disaster event, hey, what can we do to support it? That's a very natural conversation for us to pick up on and try and do something. I don't know. The war in Ukraine is a example which I guess caused much less division on opinion. It's I guess in the communities we work with, there's less division on the opinion. It feels like there's an aggressor, and almost everyone supports the position Ukraine's in. Felt much more clear cut for us to talk about, and then go and try and support it via the platform. It's like, what can you do to support the area? Disaster relief, the same kind of thing. More recent things are harder. They're harder to talk about. They cause division straight away. We have the appalling situation in Gaza, appalling situation where it's beyond belief, right? It's beyond belief. It splits a company straight away. To start speaking about it, splits a company. It splits your customer base. It splits your suppliers. It's so divisive. I don't have an answer. I honestly, the only answer I have is pain, and that's not a great answer. I'd love to learn more and be better in that space. I recognize you're not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. And I find it very painful.
Do you talk about it in your company, or is it one of those where you're like, we don't really go there? Like, how have you tackled it so far?
We have spoken about it. So we spoke about it very early on, and we knew it would cause division. So we talked about it as a team. On our platform, we have various things around Gaza. They include educational pieces, so things we think are reasonably independent. We're absolutely not going to get it right. And I'll come back to that. We have content stuff, there's film stuff, video stuff, YouTube stuff, educational stuff. There's also donations. humanitarian donations sources and our recommended links that we promote to our user base, and that user base is tens of thousands of employees. So we talked about that very early, and that's live on our platform. The thing that I mentioned in there, we kind of recognize we're not going to get it right because it's going to divide a bit. On all of those, we kind of say, hey, give us feedback on this. We know this is a divisive area. We know we're not going to always get it right. What we recommend, and it may be there's different opinions. Give us feedback. So we're trying to keep it, feedback led. But we haven't avoided it. It's I just recognize it's very, very hard, and for most organizations, I'm sure it's the same. It seems to be like way more difficult than other kind of recent, as for example, you started like with the Ukraine war, and there is something about the situation in Gaza that, as you use the term divisive, and it does seem that way for all sorts of reasons, and obviously we're not going to get lost in that rabbit hole. But what I love that you said is that you have talked about it as a team, and I guess even those challenges, and maybe if organizations have struggled. So if anybody's like watching this and they're kind of thinking, we're not really talking about it, although we know probably people are feeling, a certain way about it. There is just something about even just having that conversation, just saying we know that it's a difficult conversation, I think is a good place maybe to start. I don't know whether you'd agree with that, Sanjay. Absolutely agree. So you don't have to share opinion. You can just let people express their opinions and have it as an open space. How you create that safe environment is really, really hard. We use a lot of Slido internally. Slido, so it's anonymous and all that kind of stuff. I think that's really helpful. I think you have to monitor it though, because you may get really strong opinions, and it's a really hard topic. But opening it to be a safe space to talk, I think, that's so needed.
And let's link this back through to then like with the Impact Awards, and in particular the concept of community. So we've talked about how there's so much going on in the world that drives like division and hatred, etc. Talk about how the types of things that you want to kind of like recognize and shout about in the Impact Award drive community, and this new term that's been bandied about quite a lot, social cohesion, right?
That is a new one. Social cohesion. I hear about social impact and social value. Okay, add it into the mix. So we've got a number of different awards. We're trying to be as broad as possible. I probably should go back a step and say, look, the idea was it's not OnHand and OnHand's customers and rewarding the folks that spend money with us. It's not that. Nobody's paying to get an award. It's not one of those awards. Exactly. That's it. It's free to enter. No one's sponsoring it. None of our customers are sponsoring it. You don't have to be a customer. It's about getting as many stories as possible, and we'll try and share as many of those stories as possible. Got a fantastic judging base, including you, Cheryl. And maybe I'll teach other judges as well. But we've tried to go broad on the categories. There's 11 in total. Two of those are recognizing individuals that top 50. Actually, two are OnHands. They're like top 50 volunteers. They do thousands of hours of volunteering, and the other one is top CO2e reductions. And again, that's we have some massive users, so we want to reward them. But the other 9 are just open to anyone, and it's things like best community impact. So a story with data that any company can tell about what they're doing in their local community. So many companies are doing that type of thing today. So I'd love to hear those stories. There's volunteering excellence, high engagement and impact through volunteering. Rising leader, so is their company doing something dramatically different? First year, if you're really the contrast to the rising leader doing something that's having dramatic impact, your first year, if you're just started on this, because it is a new journey for a lot of folks, ESG, CSR, getting more involved in volunteering. If you're early on that journey and you've had a breakthrough, fantastic. Sustainability Champion Award, so who's doing lots in that space. And there's a Best DEI Engagement Award, and that's really about engagement initiatives, and in particular for your audience, I'm hoping that's really interesting. if you're doing something that's had great engagement, please apply. We'd love to recognize what you're doing. It's our first year doing it, so the chances to get shortlisted are probably higher than any other year. That's the thing. We're going to shout about the stories that come in. We will shout about them. Then we'll shortlist and there'll be winners and all that kind of stuff. But it's really about the stories. Hopefully that gives a sense for cohesion parts. It's all about so many different aspects, so many different parts of the journey, but really about employees engaging in their community.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come into that. I think this it may well link to I've just sort of read the first part of Junior's comment here. It's a tricky one when the company encourages colleagues to keep political views to themselves. And I did a bit of a straw poll on LinkedIn about this in terms of whether people do consciously avoid politics. This can leave people feeling stifled or questioning if the company values align with their own. I see this internal conflict I see this internal conflict a lot in different companies. It is a challenge, isn't it? What I like about OnHand, and I think this for me links back to this thing about community. There is something about how do you take the politics out of the community impact, if that makes sense. And that's why when I posted about a week ago, I want to say, about the awards and the impact awards, I kind of started with that that I'm no longer religious myself, by the way, but I started with that Christian parable of who is my neighbor, right? Because this to me would be maybe the advice to organizations is the politics stuff. I understand, right, in terms of wanting to avoid politics, but then there's humanity, right? And I know sometimes for some people they may think actually, but it's difficult to separate the two, and I get that. But whether, for example, it's trans rights in terms of like the UK Supreme Court ruling, or it's human civilian casualties in Gaza, the civilians that were kidnapped and murdered on October the 7th, etc. It's humanity, and companies can't really stop people just talking about humanity and or wanting to do something to help other humans, because we are human. That's what makes us not AI, right? The fact that we're human, we have empathy for other humans, right?
Hey, look, I guess I've been in the working world 20, 30 years. And I think that's massively shifted. So when I started in work, you didn't talk politics, religion. You just didn't talk about them. They were topics you just don't go near because it causes division and conflict at work. The way the world is today, I don't think you can avoid them. And if your organisation is really trying to avoid talking about them, I think I'd almost say that's wrong. It's wrong because it's so prevalent everywhere to such an extreme versus 20 years ago. It's all over our social. It's what people see nonstop during their day, and your employees are listening. They're looking at the signs that you give them about what's your stance on a particular issue. I don't know if you can just bystand. It's just bystanding. I don't know if that's really possible in today's world.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about community and volunteering, it kind of reminds me of, I shared a post, it's probably like a couple of years ago, but there's a really good sort of test. There was a brilliant campaign. I can't remember whether it was one of the alcohol brands. It was either maybe Carlsberg or Heineken, but they sort of like showed this this kind of scenario where they gave people a task, and I think I'm going to say it was maybe to like build some furniture together or something. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
And before they kind of like get to know each other and get to know each other's beliefs, etc., they just have this little task to do, and then lo and behold, they find out that maybe they're working with somebody who is trans, and actually they had very anti-trans views, right? But the lesson from it is when people work together on a common problem, that in itself, it builds that kind of, you get to know somebody, you like them, you trust them before you get into their politics. And I think for me, that's where I see the potential of volunteering and the sort of thing that OnHand does, to kind of just get beyond Trump says this, and the Democrats, the Republicans, reform, It's just, let's just get to what are the challenges that humanity, that we as a human race are facing, and how do we tackle that together?
Yeah, so it's 100% spot on. It's leveling for different people in the organization, and the working together piece is huge. But at the same time, and it's probably implicit versus directly in your face. Well, maybe it is. It's humbling. And so when you're having if you're like not sure about that person you're working with over there because of whatever view, but then you're together at a food bank putting together a food parcel for someone who really can't afford to buy their own thing, and you see what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And the thing you're going to do after doing this food bank work is you're going to go to the pub and have an amazing lunch, right? And we did that as a team recently, and we were having a picnic after this volunteering activity we did at a food bank, and it was so humbling because you're there putting together these food packages, and it's basic. It's incredibly basic on what this family is going to survive on.
Yeah.
And hey, we went off and had a lovely picnic afterwards, and because of that, you kind of see the problems in the world in a very different way, and of course your problem with your colleague is just relative, and there's something about that just creates bonds and gets over the division, because you see your division as so minuscule in the wider scheme of the world.
Yeah, and it's also it is reconnecting us to humanity, isn't it? And reconnecting us to human need, because I think, unfortunately, and this morning's live isn't a rant, isn't just Cheryl ranting about social media, but I think what social media has done is it's kind of almost like sanitized some of these humanitarian issues. We're being bombarded sometimes with a lot of propaganda and images and all of that sort of thing, but it can almost seem not real. And actually, as you say, getting a team together as an organization and going down and doing something practical like preparing food packages for a food bank, that's real. And it really reconnects you to, there are humans in this world that have real needs. This is nothing, we're not on a Zoom sort of talking to somebody with a fake background, this is real people and real people's lives. I almost feel like what you do, what OnHand does, is connects us back to the real, right? Connects us back to real world.
Totally is. And then the age we live in and AI and all that kind of stuff, I hope, obviously I believe this stuff, it's going to be more important. How do you bring real humans together for real 100%. Causes? Volunteering, it's volunteering, and most companies have this policy already. It's just massively underutilized. So obviously I'll say this, it's just something for organizations to lean into.
Yeah. And let's just talk about, so we've got a few employee networks on, and obviously you came along to the first Employee Network Leader Summit. Thank you so much for that. And next year I will say as well, there's a lot coming in terms of next year, but collaboration in terms of, how organizations can collaborate either with each other and or the third sector is going to play a massive role in that summit. You heard it here first. But what is the role, typically what is the role of employee networks, and how can they help to drive this agenda in their organization?
Yeah, I think they're massive. So I think they're the starting place. If I go back on my career and that story I was telling earlier about the sustainability group and then a charity group that grew out at Vistaprint, it was the equivalent. We weren't calling it ERGs then, but it was the equivalent of how you start getting interested people that are interested in whatever that space for the ERG is, however it relates to them. How do you get them involved in being a group who then inspire others through making it easier and a safer space to talk about stuff, a safer place to share stuff, and then encourage others to be part of it. So I feel like it relates very much to the stuff I did in early career, and it's just the starting place of how you engage the rest of your org.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that as well. And the other thing that I've what I've seen done well is when employee networks are getting involved in, for example, in volunteering or charitable efforts or sustainability efforts, it's I would always encourage ERGs to open it up to wider colleagues. So not necessarily just to the members or people that identify with your group, etc. Open it up, because it's a really good way of driving engagement, to the network, but also, really building bridges and creating that sense of community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some examples that are, they feel fairly blunt when they come to us. They're, we work with a management consultant, and they have a BAME group, and they really wanted us to find very relative volunteering opportunities, skill volunteering opportunities. We found some amazing ones with it's London-based crime reduction. There's some knife crime charities, and they feel in the right community focus. But it just feels like that's a bit blunt. It's a bit too blunt on how that's gone back as a BAME-related thing, and it's your point. You've got to widen it out. Yes, your BAME group's going to be super interested in an example like that, or working with 10,000 black interns, or whatever we can source on examples. But it's also a bit too. You must widen that opportunity out, so it's more inclusive. It's got to be more inclusive.
Absolutely. Yes, I was just
helping a certain community, but it's got to be inclusive.
I was just about to say that it's too insular, like it's too siloed, and that's one of the challenges for employee networks in particular is how you get the cross working, because the reality is we're all intersectional anyway, right? So there's a real benefit from sharing resources, sharing ideas, working together on things that, as you say, aren't just so blunt, or so crude, or almost like exclusive in the way that we're doing them.
But the starting point's the right one. It was, how do I engage this particular ERG in volunteering? Can you find something that really relates to them? The starting place is right, and then you've got to think about inclusivity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. I mean, we're gonna we've been talking for 37 minutes. Can you believe it? Literally feels like 10. But we're gonna start to wrap things up. When just before I get on to like one thing that organizations can do, I'm just gonna maybe ask you, what's your favorite volunteering story? So apart from your own incredible sort of story of when you were at Vistaprint, but what's your favorite story of maybe an organization that's come to you and done some volunteering, and maybe kind of like it's led to an outcome that they weren't expecting?
There's so many, but some recent ones that are different from what we've done before. We engaged some consultants and try to use their skill sets in a very different way. And so the examples would be, I'll give two examples of how we engaged the consultants, because it wasn't, the example I gave my team going to helping a food bank, it was different to that. We've got this very, very cool, very highly skilled consultancy skill set. It costs, top dollar per day to usually have this skill set. How could we use it? And so we found charities like one of the largest homeless shelters in the UK has a giant property portfolio, has never looked at its sustainability footprint, its environmental footprint, or a strategy of how it reduces that. And it's a very large property base. And so that's the type of work that consultant would do at thousands of pounds a day type thing. And they're doing that 5-year strategy of how they reduce their footprint. Another example would be using those consultants with YMCA. So YMCA have large pieces of land in the UK. Like a lot of charities, their cash situation isn't always great, and they need to sell. They sell off parts of the land. They have to. And one of the projects is, instead of selling the land, can we turn it into something that's a revenue stream, like a wellbeing retreat? And the strategy to do that, those consultants are working through. I love those examples, because what that gets back to is the employee. Like, if those employees work incredibly hard. It's a difficult place to work, but how do you turn that into like incredible engagement opportunities? That's what this opportunities are. Incredible engagement and community opportunities. Turn around, purpose at work, and everyone in this day and age, purpose at work is so important. So those examples, I think, really opened up to me how transformational volunteering can be, and then engagement at work.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's just reminded me, I need to connect you to somebody after this. So, because I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were talking about the fact that they're just coming up to choosing who they do some pro bono work for. And I thought, because I think the thing is, I think when people think about OnHand, they're probably thinking, oh, it's like volunteering days, where you go out to a school or you go and do this, which you do that as well, but it's not until you describe there, what that consultancy were doing, that I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's pro bono work as well, potentially, in terms of how you support. Yeah,
there's
amazing.
so much need out there. So yeah, we do highly curated stuff as well.
Yeah. And the other thing that I completely forgot to circle back to, we were where we started this off camera, we were talking about Great Ormond Street Hospital. Yes. Charity, which is where you are at the moment, which that in itself could be a whole nother case study of how they've managed to grow that, because it is an incredible story, isn't it, of Great Ormond Street?
Incredible story, incredible charity, really cool what they do.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us literally from the hospital.
I'm in the teenage room. Teenagers aren't awake yet, so this is like the perfect space.
And then we're going to finish off with what is the one thing that companies can do to empower their their colleagues, their employees into more volunteering. What can they do? Where can they start?
Yeah, that's a great question. The one thing is really basic, actually. It's look at your policy, and does your policy allow people to take random bits of time, not one day, and you measure your one day. How can you encourage people to take a micro action, like a tiny thing, like donating food at a local food bank, and it takes 15 minutes or half an hour, something tiny, something really, really small. Because what that leads to is, if you do it once, you're going to do it again. Like we see 9 out of 10, our stats, 9 out of 10 people who start keep going, but it's small actions that keep them into that loop.
Right.
And then once you're in that loop, you're more inclined to do more and more volunteering of a larger nature. Problem with volunteering is everyone's short of time, right? And they don't think they've got time to do it. So start off small. Revisit your policies to ensure they encapsulate micro volunteering. So volunteering in very time. That's my tip, because it builds. It's then a snowball effect.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really good point, because one of the challenges that I know, even for people that lead employee networks, is having time, especially, for example, when they work in professional services or organizations where time is being measured, right? So where you're filling in timesheets, or it's billable hours. When they spend time working on, the employee network, or as you say, something like volunteering, are they actually getting an allowance for that, or are they going to be penalised by the KPIs? That's the challenge, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. And for them, it's for timesheet folks, it's when do you have breaks? Like lots of folks know they've got projects ending at certain dates. How to use those gaps and having something on tap for those gaps. I guess that's the thing to plan.
Yeah, amazing. Perfect. Sanjay, I'm going to let you go, not least because, the teenagers might be waking up soon and they'll at Great Ormond Street, and they might be wanting their room back.
Lovely to speak to you this morning, Cheryl.
Yeah, thank you, everybody that was listening in live. And, thank you for your comments as well, especially to Junior and Nihar. And all have a great weekend. Sanjay, where can people find you and find out more about OnHand? If they want to connect with you.
Hey, as we're on LinkedIn, please do connect in on LinkedIn. That's probably the easy place. BeOnHand.co.uk is our site if you want to find out more. But all of that you can get to just by connecting me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
We'd love to see you.
And please do look into the Impact Awards and think about how you could be applying. I believe, is it just another week that people have got to enter?
One more week. So it's the 15th of August. 15th of August is the deadline. If you're interested, hey, look, you can apply directly, but also just let us know. We're happy to help you with those applications too.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, perfect. Sanjay, thank you so much. Everyone that's been with us live, if you've been listening on the replay, thank you for spending 44 minutes of your day watching this back. All right, that's it. We're out of there. Take care. Go with grace.
Great to see you. Thanks, everyone.